Afternoon. Welcome to Boston Praise Radio. I'm Layla.
I'm Julissa.
And today we're going to be talking about the differences between parenting now versus parenting back then. So, do you want to talk first? Okay. All right. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the differences between parenting now versus back then. So, we both believe that parenting right now is definitely a big change from parenting in the 80s, 90s, 70s, etc. We felt like there's a lot of outside influences that influence these parents to raise their kids a certain way, such as technology, and there's different discipline methods. There's also a different education expectations. There's also, parental involvement, and there's also just like family dynamics in general. So first, are we going to talk about your topic first? You want to get into mine?
So what I have for today is how generational trauma is passed down onto family members and more so younger people. So what is generational trauma? Generational trauma refers to the emotional pain and distress passed down through generations due to traumatic experiences such as war, oppression, or abuse, impacting descendants' mental health and well-being. So, I'll get into the impacts on mental health. So, young people may experience higher rates of anxiety, depression, or PTSD due to inherited trauma from their ancestors and behavioral patterns. They might exhibit behaviors or coping mechanisms that mirror those of their traumatized ancestors, such as avoidance, substance abuse, or difficulty forming relationships. So, like with this stuff that's passed down, I would say it impacts everybody, but more so the younger. No, I don't think so, because I think it really impacts the parents that go through it, because then they pass it on to their children. Kid. So then that causes
the child to be more anxious.
Yeah, an issue for the younger people, because the parents have it and they pass it down to their kids without even realizing it. So parents talking about what they have gone through and their experiences to their children, it causes fear and anxiety to their kids, but they don't mean it and they don't intend it, but that's just what it causes to them. And it causes their kids to act out certain ways, and be more sheltered and not really socialize with other people. It could go either way.
Yeah, I also think that those type of parents who do that a lot, because a lot of parents do that. They want to protect their kids. I feel like parents who do that, they often keep their kids in a little box. They want them to stick to this routine, do this, do that. They don't want their kid to explore a little bit and see what they can do with their own body, not own body, but your own mind, and also that causes kids to be sneaky and do stuff that they're afraid to tell their parents, because it's I don't want my mom to be disappointed in me after she told me all this. I don't want my father to think this way of me. I don't want my grandparents, I don't want anyone to think this way of me because they're telling me to do certain things, but it's I want to step outside my comfort zone and do something else,
And even as you get older, you not necessarily don't think of their expectations and standards for them, but you have your own standards and expectations of yourself. So you want to be able to follow those expectations and the standards that you have for yourself. And of course, your parents' teachings, it doesn't go away, because you'll always remember them, even if it's at the back of your head. But as you get older, some people they realize, okay, I don't want to be like my parents, or I don't want to deal with the same things that my family's going through, so they stop. They want to be the stopping for the generational trauma and the traumatic effects and all the bad stuff, so they better themselves so that it can just stop to where they are and not follow on.
Yeah, and you see that in you see that a lot, actually. You even see that with colleges. You could say, for example, everyone in my family, well, not my family, but this is an example. Say everyone in your family went to college, didn't go to college, but you decide, I want to go to college, I want to be different. That's also another example of past trauma. Just because my family didn't go to college doesn't mean I don't have to go to college.
Right.
Or it could be the other way around. Just because they went to college doesn't mean I have to go to college. I could do something else, Mm-hmm. So I agree with that, how it's passed down.
I agree with that as well. Some parents do force their ideas and force their agendas onto their kids, which again causes them to act out because they're being forced to do things, and they feel like they don't have any freedom to do anything that they want to do or that they like, because they know that their parents are going to give them their judgment and be shamed for it.
Or not even like be proud of it.
Right.
Like you bring that up. I actually remember this video. There was a kid he was a D1 college athlete, football. And he was picking his college on what college he wanted to go to. Remember signing day? And he picked the school. His mom had an Alabama shirt on because she wanted him to go to Alabama State. I think he picked Florida. And she was like, she just got up and walked out, grabbed everything and left. So that's another example of how, like, parents, like, they have an expectation. They want you. Sometimes they do want you to do certain things. And it's like, you have to branch off and do your own. You have to branch off and do what feels best for you. You know, it's your own idea. And sometimes that might not make a parent, like, they might feel, I don't want to say ashamed, but they might feel a little discouraged or feel a type of way. But it's like, at least you know what's best for you, you know? It's at a certain point you have to start making your own decisions for your life.
Right, and that ties into the parents, because they did what their parents told them to do because they had no other choice. So when they have kids, they're like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing because I didn't get to do this as a kid, so my kids are going to do it for me, which is not the way to go about things. And like, your child is their own person. Of course they're gonna have your traits and your qualities, but they're not gonna be exact carbon copy of you.
And that's where we see like the independence in this generation. Like, you see a lot of kids not really doing what their parents want them to do. They have their own, like, that's what I can say about this generation. There's a lot of bad things, but there's a lot of good things. Like, a lot of us, we have our own idea of what we want to do and what we want to be and how we're gonna do it, you know. And we just really need our parents' support. We don't need them telling us, like, obviously, your parents can tell us from experience, but a lot of kids these days want to more find out. They want to learn. They want to do things on their own because they want to see who their own person are. And you couldn't really do that back then because there was a lot of even discrimination laws. There was a lot of stuff going on, but now stuff has kind of died down, and like, kids want to make their own decisions, if that makes sense.
And as you see now, there's more mental health awareness because, like you said, the older generations, they didn't even know that they had these things. Until
they don't want to confront the situation,
until like later on in their life, if they even choose to accept it. But our generation now is more outspoken about the mental health awareness, like schizophrenia and depression and anxiety and all these things. They're being more open to it.
But it's also showcased in school too, you know, because like back then, I'm pretty sure there wasn't showcasing like LGBTQ and more racism and even mental awareness or anything like that. These schools now are actually letting us get these type of education to learn about these things and giving us resources that we can use to help us fix, like, if we're feeling any type of suicidal thoughts or depression or feeling like we're changing, they give us these resources so we can go and get the help that we need. You know, you didn't get that back then. You just had to, if you didn't know what it was, you didn't know what it was, you know. Just if you told your parent about it, they'd probably brush it off because they don't know what it means either. They're probably thinking, you know, she or he, they're just growing up. They don't know what's going on with, you know, your body.
So I have a few, not much, but to the people who did respond, I love you all. But I do have a few opinions from people who I asked on my Instagram story that how well did your parents raise you, and explain. So I have a few people, I'm not going to say their names for obvious reasons, but I have a few of my friends. One of them said, being raised in a Western society with a non-Western parent, she did her best. And another friend said, wasn't the best. Abandonment, no emotional stability, very one-sided. So as you can see, like, there's a cultural approach to this as well. If you come from very ethnic and, like, very, like, close-minded or, like, just very family-on, like, families and societies, you won't really, like, have the freedom and the expression to do things on your own because your parents are already making those decisions before you're even born. So, and if you don't follow through with it, you're shunned in the community and the family. And as my other friend that was saying, her mother, and I've talked to her personally, like, amount of times. She thinks I'm her personal therapist because I'm what I'm studying in school. But anyway, she's talked to me before about how her mother has her own mental health issues, and because of that, she, like, brings it on to my friend. And because of that, my friend has done questionable things in her life that she now acknowledges, and she realizes, okay, this is a stem from my mother, but she brought this onto me. She doesn't like resent her mother, but she just wished like she did things differently. And I feel like we can all agree to that. Like, yeah, our parents like did our best, but
there's some stuff that I feel like every kid feels like there's some stuff their parents could have did differently, because you know, I do agree. I feel like some kids feel like that.
Yes. So but like I was saying, during the times like people weren't really going to therapy or getting the help that they needed, so because of that they just had to suck it up and keep going, which causes even more pain and trauma, and then leaves it to their family to just figure it out. Yeah. And I wouldn't say like I've had people tell me this before, but like there is that mentality of just suck it up, you'll be okay. And it's just like, that's not the way you go about mental health, because that's how people end up killing themselves. Yeah. Because they don't have the freedom and space to share what they want to say and how they feel. And then when they do, it's just like, oh, it's not suicide, it's not depression, you're not going through anything, you just need to go to school and do what you need to do, and that's it. Yeah. Right. I've heard that before as well, but it's just, that's not the way you go about things. And parents nowadays, like some of the parents nowadays, like they're more open to the mental health, because they know like my parents dealt with this, so I'm also dealing with this, and I don't want my kids to go through it. So they're pushing more like being open and like talking to their kids more about what they're going through and how they can make their days better, and you know, stuff like that. So the parents, I know like people from the past have also done this as well, but I'm saying like it's more out now. Yeah. And I really appreciate that, because younger kids,
a lot of kids now are starting to like kill themselves and do stuff because of all this trauma that's being brought upon them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree. All right, so now we're going to talk about like I said earlier, we're going to talk about some of the differences and similarities between the parenting styles now versus back then. So actually I do have some statistics on my phone, or like a little chart. So there was you can get this from Pew, I forgot what it's called. I'm gonna Pew Research Center. Pew Research Center. So there was a survey that they did on parents, and it was basically asking questions about the similarities and differences from their own upbringing. So how parents say they're raising their children similarly or differently from their own upbringing. So it says values and religion. There's 63% that said that it was similar, and 13% said that it was different. Behavior and discipline, there's 29% that said it was similar, and 32% said it was different. Love and relationship, 16% said it was similar, and 44% said it was different. Education, 9% said it was similar, and 5% said it was different. And then freedom is 5% similar and not 8% different.
Can I see that? I just want to see what it looks like.
So basically, as you can see, I'm back. She's done actually. Sorry. Yeah. So as you can see, the values and religions are still similar. You know, a lot of people still value their religion, which is good. But behavior and discipline, it shows that it's very different now than it definitely was back then, you know, because you see it a lot. Actually, you see it like in parenting now. Parents are less strict. They're less strict. They let the kids do a lot of stuff that I'm pretty sure a lot of parents wouldn't back then. You know, there's less like physical methods if kids would got in trouble or anything at school. A lot of kids get away with anything. You know, their parents they might take their phone for a day or two, but you know, there's no real structure, you know, for kid to something. A lot of parents actually nowadays play victim for their kids. Right. They believe that their kid's not in the wrong all the time, which is not the case. Every kid does something wrong. Every kid does something wrong at least 3 times in their lifetime. At least 3 times throughout middle school, high school, 3 or more times at least, middle school, high school, and elementary. You're going to do something. Your kid's not always going to be the victim. And I don't like the parents who like enable their kids to feel like they're entitled, you know? And also another thing that needs to be disciplined more is a lot of kids are cussing around their parents now. Like, if you haven't noticed, a lot of kids now, they don't have that respect where it's like, I'm pretty sure a lot of kids that can say cuss now.
Not
it's
even
not a
just
good
that,
thing.
but just trying to be grown, trying to take on adult responsibilities as kids, and their parents. I feel like some parents force them to like be adults at a young age. I understand like there is like some life changes that where you have to be an adult early on, but I'm talking about more so the parents that force their kids to act as like the parent because they don't feel like parenting themselves.
Well, my opinion, I think that what you just said, how kids have to feel like they have to grow up older and their parents make them kind of grow up older, I think that they was doing that more back then than they are now.
No, I still feel like it's now.
I feel like now the kids are choosing to do grown stuff and want to be grown. I feel like back then.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're choosing it, not like they're forced to.
I feel like back then people, I want to say forced to, but they were told, you have to watch this, clean the dishes, do this, and that. They were told to do more stuff around the house, take care of their kids while their parents at work. I feel like that was kind of forced on them. Meanwhile, kids are just like, they see it on the internet, they want to do it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like their parents are not reinforcing like you're like 11, you can't be walking around in like crop tops and like booty shorts, like that's not okay. And then like you said with the cussing and like going around and sneaking off with boys in the middle of the night, like you can't be doing that stuff. Like the parents, they just have to like teach their kids to be kids and respectful kids as that. And then another thing I think also is different now is the education expectations. Like I can't say this for all the parents, but I can say this for some. A lot of parents don't really care. I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't really ask about their kids' grades. They don't ask how their kids' school days went. They don't ask a lot of stuff. They just, a lot of parents are not really in the loop of school unless their kid is going home and telling you, oh, this happened at school. And most of the parents, when they're in the loop about school, it's probably about drama, if you want to be honest. It's probably about what your kid's going through at school, but it's not about anything about education, their work. It's a lot of parents don't really check in with teachers. They don't really, they don't really just care if they're doing homework or not. They probably don't ask. And I've seen that a lot from friends I've known and just other things in general. A lot of parents don't really care about their kids' grades. Like even preferred like back then, parents used to be on top of it, like do your homework, let me see your report card, let me see this, let me see that. You don't really see that a lot now. I mean, I think it depends on the individual as well, but I mean, I don't really think that I see that. Or I don't know, like you said, you've seen it a lot with your friends, but like me personally, I haven't really seen it.
Well, you're older too,
I guess so.
And then another thing that I also see is like we were talking about earlier about how like you said third graders couldn't read as well as that was a good thing. I feel like technology, this also plays in with technology. I feel like a lot of kids this generation aren't as, I don't want to say smart, but they're not where they should be in certain areas of their educational thing, because I feel like now since we have internet, it kind of enables us. Like if the internet, if we need to know something, we can search it up. If we need to figure, if you want to find a math problem, there's apps for that. If you want to do stuff for your essay and cheat, there's apps for that. There's a lot of stuff that enables kids from actually doing the actual learning, and that's not good for us, because how is that going to work in the real world? How is that going to help us better ourselves? How is that going to help us learn? Meanwhile, when there wasn't technology, those kids had to go to libraries and get they had to go to libraries and actually take the information they're learning in school and use it in their brain.
I'm sure they were still cheating back then, but like you said, they didn't have the access. They didn't have the access to. I'm pretty sure they could have been cheating, but I don't think it's as often as it is now. I think that it's harder. You can't search it. You can't just type in your phone right now. They couldn't just type, essay for this topic, and everything would come up immediately. They couldn't do that. They had to use their own brains to format an essay or finish this math problem or this math test and this and that. If they want to learn a word, they have to use a dictionary. There's a lot of stuff that they have in their head because they had to learn it up front. Meanwhile, us, we have technology. We can just search it up if we don't know anything. And that's how that's how the education system is not as good now, because kids since they have technology, they feel like they don't have to learn as much. They don't have to. We have this. And I feel like there's also favoritism in the schools as well. Like teachers, they have their favorite students and then they cater to them, and then the students who are actually struggling, they don't do anything for them.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and then another thing I want to talk about relating to this is also like parental like dynamics. Because like I feel like we were talking about this earlier, like a lot of parents want to be best friends with their kids all of a sudden, and like that's not a good way that's not a good way to be raising a kid. Like it's okay if you want your, like I understand you want your kid to be able to tell you anything and you want to be close to them and you want to have a good relationship with them, but you don't treat them like your best friend. You're not supposed to be in the room gossiping with your daughter, and then when their friend comes, you guys are gossiping. Like, no, you're grown. You're not supposed to be doing that. And a lot of parents do that nowadays. They want to be friends with their kids instead of actually giving them rules. When their kid gets in trouble or anything, they want to automatically assume that their kid's not in the right because they want to be their friend. They want to take up for them. You know, want to be their friend. Right. That's not a good way to parent at all, because that's making your kid think, oh, well, my mom doesn't care if I do this because we talk about it, so I can do whatever I want to do. My mom, we talk about us smoking together. Okay, I could do it with my friends. We were talking about that earlier. So it's a lot of stuff that parents have to do to change because their kids are seeing what you do and they're taking it as, oh, my mom doesn't care.
Right.
My mom, because we talk about it, she doesn't care. So I think that's another thing that needs to be changed.
I would also say that the older generation, like, they didn't let things slide as like much. You were saying, like they were more hard on and like weren't letting things slide. But like parents now, they just let their kids do whatever and be whatever. It's like if they don't fix those behaviors as they're still growing and as a kid, then they're gonna be worse adults. And you know, like they're not gonna take on any responsibilities as adults or want to even cater to themselves properly or just like be responsible like they're supposed to be. They're still gonna have that childish mentality. They're still gonna like
because they don't teach them certain manners and like certain expectations to have. They don't teach their kids, like for example, they don't teach their kids not to cuss in front of adults and younger children. And you know, we see now a lot on public transportation. You see a lot of kids just acting crazy in front of whoever. You don't even know who your audience is. You don't know who could be around you, but you see them cussing a storm, acting crazy, doing dumb stuff. And their parents, obviously kids act away with their friends rather than acting away with their family. That's every kid does that. There's no way you act different with your friends versus with your family. That's the obvious thing. But it's like you should still have enough sense to know not to do this around this certain group of people, or not to do this and that, because you never know who's watching you, you know? And also, I just, back to what you were saying about, what were you saying again just before this?
I don't even remember.
No, back to what, she said something. I forgot what she said. It was about, I forgot what she said. I actually forgot what she said, but I had it in my head, but when I started talking about something else, it kind of changed. We were back to talking about parents' dynamics and, you know, parents being friends with their kids. So I just think that that's not a good way to parent, because like I said, those kids are gonna take that information and they say, oh, my mom doesn't care, when you're not, maybe a parent's not trying to give that off, but a kid is gonna think that because you're enabling that kid. You're telling them, oh, like if for example, if someone's telling their mother, oh, me and this girl's got an argument, this and that, instead of a mom saying, well, just walk away from the situation, you know, some parents say, oh, who is she? This isn't. They rile it up, and that's more being a best friend than being a parent, actually telling their kid right from wrong, which is not good. And another thing I want to bring up is the safety concerns we're talking about. Like, we were actually, I don't research this, but I was Googling and Safari and using these type of websites, and I noticed that the safety, like the parents' concern for the kid's safety, has really different, like it's differentiated from now versus then, where it's like then, you know, a lot of kids used to play outside. That's what they had to do. You know, a lot of kids used to play outside, have fun, but they were told to be back inside at a certain time. Meanwhile, kids nowadays can be outside all night and their parent doesn't know where they're at, doesn't care. When they come home, I see that a lot. I see that a lot, where it's like you could be 8 and just be outside all night, and it's like that's not safe, because times have changed where like violence is way worse. And I think parents need to more like I don't want to talk about generational trauma, because I don't want parents telling their kids, oh, watch out, if you go outside you're going to get shot, something like that. But you need to tell your kid to be more aware of their surroundings and where they are, and because times have changed, stuff is happening to kids all around the world. So yeah,
I think it's like more parents are in a way neglecting their kids. Like you said, like they can just be out for however long and their parents won't even call or check up on them. Like your kid could be dead. That's the worst thing ever, but like they could be dead and they wouldn't even know. And like back to what I was saying earlier, like not everybody needs to have kids. And I really like I stand by that 100%, because there be cases on the news where parents kill their own kids, and even worse. So it's just like, if you are gonna neglect your kid and like abuse them any type of way, whether it be physical or mental, you don't deserve to have kids. Like it's not for you, and you need to work on your own things before you give it to your kids.
And kids who are going through that should also speak up about it, because a lot of kids don't speak up. They think they always in their mindset, I don't know, it's never happened to me, but I'm pretty sure their mindset is like, oh, that's my mother, I don't want to do anything to jeopardize her. But it's also, you need to speak up about that
and
stuff.
That's why social media is a good thing, because I have seen like domestic abuse when it comes to parents on social media.
And kids speak out.
I have seen like stuff like that, and it causes awareness and stuff. So like you've said, like the other day, like social media has its good impacts, because it broadcasts like all the things that need to be said, and like the stuff that you don't see like on a day-to-day basis, or like when people are actually in trouble. That's what social media is for.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about like kids being outside and their parents not even checking up on them, you as a parent, like, you don't know what your kid's doing outside. You don't know, they could be hanging with the wrong crew, or they could be doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. That could be, and I feel like parents need to think about that when they're letting their child go out and just do whatever. You need to think about, my kid could be hanging with this person, my kid could be doing this and that, getting pregnant, doing whatever they want to do, and I don't know. That's not a good way to live. That's not a good way. Not only to live, but that's not a good way to parent, because you're not teaching your kid right from wrong. Like I do agree, some people should not be parents. Some people should not be parents, because it's like they don't care for this. A lot of people don't care for their kids, as they should.
It's because they don't care for themselves. So when they don't care for themselves, they don't care for their kids. That's exactly why you don't need kids in the first place. You need to focus on yourself and get better for yourself. And then maybe if you're like, okay, maybe I feel like I can be an actual parent to my kids now, then yeah, you can get your kids back. But it's like, for the people who don't need kids, there's so many people, like so many children in the foster and adoption centers who literally just get like abandoned, straight up abandoned. Like
foster care.
Exactly. Like if their parents aren't abusing them, then they're just not even paying attention to them altogether. And that's even worse, because you not acknowledging that you have a kid, like that's just even worse than like abusing or whatever. It's just so bad.
And even when those kids are going into foster homes and stuff, they might not be getting treated well either, because those a lot of foster parents don't treat kids as well. They mostly think about it as a way to get easy money every month, or I don't know how to get paid, every week, every month. They think about it as a way for me to just keep getting money. I don't care about this kid, I don't care what he does, I don't care this and that, I'm getting money every month. And that's what a lot of foster parents, that's their mindset. And those kids don't get treated well either. It's really sad. So at least I'm grateful that, But it's just, I definitely agree. Like, if you're going to have a kid, if you decide to have a kid, then why don't abandon it? Make sure you're ready to have a kid. Make sure you're stable financially, mentally, physically, whatever. Make sure you can have someone by your side, like a father figure, Make sure you have someone by your side that can help you too, because you see that these days too. A lot of like we were actually talking about that with Miss Renee earlier. Miss Wise, we were talking about how there's a difference between the father role now versus back then, like what it was to be a man. So make sure you also have a father figure with you, or just someone who could be by your side for extra support.
I agree 100%. Like most families now, they don't have both parents. They have one of whichever, one mom or one dad, but it should be both parents in the household, so that they can get both opinions and both structures from the parents, so that they can be better or do better. Like, it's a difference if both of the parents are abusive or whatever, but it's like if your mom and your dad are actually like telling you and teaching you how to be a young girl or a young boy, then like
why not listen?
Right, like you take that in and you grow to be a good person. But yeah, I agree.
Okay.
What is the chat saying?
Yeah, what's
if
the
they're
chat
saying anything?
In the chat, let's see what we got here. Check here. Check both pages. So on our Pastor Bruce Wall's Facebook page, no one said anything yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I think it's a great topic. Great job as usual. So, I mean, what would your suggestion be, as you know, in terms of for young people today to be able to, you know, do you feel that young people can be able to, what's the ideal way that parents should be able to, you talked about some of the challenges of things then and now, so from your perspective, what do you think would be the ideal way for this generation, for the relationship to be optimally healthy with parents, with young folk?
Well, I think that the ideal way, like, a parent should be able to parent, like, this is me. I feel like there definitely needs to be some structure. Like, you don't have to be super strict, you know? You don't have to, you know, take your kid out of certain things, but there should be some structure where you tell your kid right from wrong. Mm-hmm. You should make sure you know, like, if they're going out, you should make sure that you know where they're going. You should know all the details. Like, certain stuff that parents should do. I think, like, parents should be on top of the kids about stuff, even like education or sports. If they want to do something, you make sure that they want to do it, this, and that. But I also think that parents should allow their kids to be able to go talk to them and tell them that they're doing stuff. Or, you know, I feel like a lot of kids don't go to their parents because they're scared of how they're going to react or what they think. But I feel like parents should be able to have an open communication system where kids can go in and tell their parents how they feel or what they want to do. Or, you know, like, kids can just express how they feel mentally, physically, whatever they're doing, so they don't have to hide it from their parents, you know? I think that if there's some structure and you're teaching kids right from wrong and manners and you're not doing stuff for them, that's good, but you should also have a way for them to communicate with you and let them tell you how they feel about certain situations. You don't have to be best friends with them, like we said earlier. That's not a good way to parent, but you should also just have this open line of communication with them. I think that's a good ideal parent for me, you know, someone who supports me.
I agree. Like, some parents, they have like Life 360, which is like a location tracking app, and they use it for their kids to like track their locations and stuff. I think that's good, especially with like younger kids, like, so you know where they're going and their whereabouts and who they're with. It also tells you like certain stuff on their phones too, like when their phone's dying or whatever. But I agree with that, and just set like concrete boundaries and expectations for your kids. Like, you can't talk to me a certain way because you still have to respect me as a parent.
Adult, no.
And but you can still come to me with whatever's on your mind because I'm there to listen and be open to you. So I agree with that.
Outstanding. Thank you. Well, again, I think a great topic, great job. Oh, can you... Sorry, great topic, great topic, great job. I think that's outstanding. And so, is there anything else that you guys wanted to share, or is that concluded for today?
I think that's it for today.
I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for listening to us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. This is just our opinion on, you know, the difference between parenting now and then.
And you'll be back on tomorrow, yes?
Back on tomorrow. So tune in.
Yes.
12.
All right.